Hey everybody, today we're going to be blocking what we primered yesterday to see where we're at with the body damage on here, as to see how much filler we need to put back on it. Alright, so I already started blocking this with 180 because we know we're going to prime this panel again. As you can see, that little bit of damage that was here, it's mostly coming out in the primer. And I have a feeling most of these little dings and dents will be exactly like this. Alright, so what I mean by baseline is when you have raw metal or just a bunch of different types of materials on a panel, it's hard to see exactly what's what, your low and high spots, what areas need work. So by doing the etch primer, we did a 2K primer on top of that, 3 coats, and then we blocked it. I hit it with a DA to kind of clean up all the scratches so you could see it a little better. So all the little dark spots like this are the dings and low spots. The metal is high spots. If you look close on the metal, you can see our etch primer around the edge where it's high. So to go kind of panel by panel a little bit, we have our ding here in the corner. You can see that little spot, about as big as my finger. We have a tiny ding here. And that's it for this panel. It's smooth otherwise. But we have some high spots, but that all covers up with primer. This was our cab corner we were worried about, where it looked like somebody pulled it out with some pins. And you can just kind of see it's a little bit low. We have a little ding. But if you remember up here where we had all that Bondo, literally this, just a tiny few little low spots, everything else blocked out. Same with down here, we have quite a few little door dings, but really you don't want to put material to cover the whole thing like that. The goal here is to have as little body filler as possible. And as you can see back here, the whole panel's pretty well straight. We have that dent here and then one here, as well as a little one right there on the corner. Nothing serious at all really behind here. The next step will be hitting our dark spots like this here with 80 grit, putting a little skim putty in there just in all our larger dark spots that aren't near the bare metal. We'll probably do this one down here, as well as our little ding here, just to fill those in. Then we'll do another coat of etch primer of our bare metal and shoot it with 2K again. From there, we'll end up blocking the 2K primer again, seeing if there's any more low spots, doing the same thing again. From there, we should know whether we're either going to do another coat of 2K primer or go ahead and start blocking it to prepare it for the final sanding to paint it. With Bondo and glazing putty, you want about 1.5 inches of hardener for every golf ball size of material. From there, you want to mix it up until the blue is completely mixed in. Sometimes it's red, but you want it to where it's no longer streaky at all, a nice solid color. All right, while we're waiting on our Bondo to cure up a little bit, let's touch base on our CJ2 that some of y'all were asking about. As you can see, we swapped in a 225 Dauntless V6 out of a late 60s CJ5. Granted, this was a brand new motor from C&J Engines. I made this little fan shroud here. As you can see, all little holes drilled in it. I fabricated this fan shroud here, bed lined it for heat and sound resistance. As you can see, we have a little rubber gasket all the way around the edge as it butts up to the aluminum radiator. That way it doesn't rub on anything and make a little hole after time. We ended up getting the same sticker as they have on the CJ5s. Offenhauser valve covers, Sanderson headers that were slightly modified to fit our application. As you can see in here, we have OE similar seat covers, and the backing plate has actually been bed linered. Oh, well, it didn't even have a backing plate on it to begin with, really. So from there, I ended up making some brackets to bolt it to the back of the seat. I bed lined the plywood that it's stapled to. That way we can bolt it in nice. That way we don't have to worry about our seat cushions flying out when we're going down the highway, now that it can actually do highway speeds. And we did the same thing for the back seat here. So some of you may pick up on this, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but I also welded all the factory seams that come in these out, skim coated the whole tub because it had a bunch of little spot welds and seams where everything was put together, which kind of made it look a little weird. But now we have a full body tub all smoothed out. We have bumpers off a late model Wrangler that were slightly modified to fit our application. We ended up trimming about 2 inches off, that way we could recess it against the body of the Jeep. I recessed in the tail lights. As you can see, we painted where it says Willys. From there, you can see I modified the roll bar for it, because the factory ones actually stick out way above the windshield and it looks a little weird. But so we chopped a couple inches out of it, recessed it down a little bit, made some plates and bolted it in here. And there's also plates on the underside for the backing to secure it nicely under here. One of the projects for today, in between, Bondo, letting things dry, I am actually modifying my original T90 transmission. That way we can change out the input shaft to adapt it to this V6 that's in here now. Alright, I'm not sure if anybody else has ever done or is interested in doing one of these Dauntless V6 conversions into a CJ2. But with our T90 transmission here, this is the old original input shaft, and this would be the new one. It's not that scary to take one of these things apart. And just like that, we got our T90 input shaft changed out, mated to our bell housing for the 225, and we also have the throwout bearing up in there. Let me know if you guys want to see some of the content on this CJ2. I'm just about done. I have to mate the transfer case to this, put it back up in the Jeep, do some engine wiring, and run the exhaust. That's about it. Then it's done. All right, so here's how much body filler it actually took to smooth this thing out. Look at that. Very minimal. The thickest part is on that cab corner there, and it's probably maybe a 1/16 of an inch thick. Nothing bad at all. Even back under here, just minimal. It's crazy. And also we got our couple little dings up here on top of the bed sorted out too. So this side's pretty much good to go. I'm going to take my little body hammer. If you can see, it's mostly flat with a slight curve into it. So I'm going to just tap some of these high metal spots down. That way when we prime it, we don't have to worry about burning through to the metal again. I just tapped down some of the high spots in the metal. Next, we are going to tape this back off, do etch primer, and do another 3 coats of 2K primer. All right, so we're almost done taping off the truck to do our 2nd coat of primer and etch primer. That way we can get this thing knocked out. And we also did a little work on this other side. You can see where the fender flare was kind of rubbing it a little. So we're gonna blow some primer in there, and then along this top rail. Down here a little bit, there were some rock chips. I can't imagine what would have thrown rocks up into here. Maybe John knows. We got the Dakota all primed in again. We should be pretty good for now. We might do one more coat of primer on the bottom, but that would be it. As for the bed, if we prime any more on that, it'll be once it's off the truck here in a day or two. We also got the passenger side cut in with primer. We filled in a couple of the little dings here, as well as fixing those scuff marks on the paint where the fender flares were. So that'll about do it for the Dakota for today. We're going to be taking tomorrow and Saturday off, and we should be back on Sunday to finish knocking this thing out. I want to take a couple minutes to talk to you guys. We will probably be taking a break Friday and Saturday and come back either Sunday or Monday with another video. So we have a couple things going on. My brother actually decided to start a YouTube channel as well. He does a liquidation store called Sweet Spot Liquidation. He gets pallets from Amazon, Home Depot, Lowe's, things like that, and resells them in his store. So if you guys want to follow him, I'll put a link down in the description below. It should be pretty interesting. He always talks about the business and, you know, day-to-day activities. If you wanted to get into something like what he does with the liquidation resales, I think he said he's going to do like a step-by-step on what to do, what not to do, kind of that sort of thing. If you've known me for a little while, you know I used to do construction with my brother. He had his own construction company doing remodeling, renovations, that sort of thing. But he decided to give it up and pursue a different company, which it seems like it's been working out pretty well for him. So if you guys want to give him a follow, you'll probably be seeing him on my channel here in a little bit. He has a pretty much brand new F-250 as well as a Hellraisin Charger Daytona. And then there's a 2nd gen Cummins Ram 2500 4-wheel drive that you'll be seeing us do a few things to probably towards the end of the month. So be sure to stay tuned for that. It should be kind of interesting doing the whole truck and bed liner, but tinted bed liner. Probably in the next month or so as well, our 3rd gen Ram will be leaving, as well as the CJ2. I have a few other things in the works that we're doing, but I can't really talk about all that right now because I don't quite know 100% if it's going to work out. But towards the end of the month, we should be up there checking out the new shop. My brother will be in town. So we should have a few kind of different videos going on. Also with him, through his liquidation store, we're going to be building out our garage into making a nice little office, bathroom, that sort of thing. So if you're interested in a little bit of variety, be sure to stay tuned, watch out for that. And I think that's about all for today.